In this video, I'll address another principle of UDL, which is to provide multiple means of engagement. I'll talk specifically about strategies to support engagement online. So one of the things that we need to do to support engagement is to develop self-directed learners. When we're teaching in the online environment, that there are some additional challenges to being self-directed learners. For example, students don't have the boundaries of class time and home time, so everything blends together, and sometimes it's hard for students to know what they're supposed to be doing and when. Students might also avoid the things they don't like to do when they're learning independently without the teacher there, without support to get things finished. And students might also need family or parent assistance to be able to finish up their tasks. So let's look at some digital tools that we can use and strategies we can use to develop more self-directed learners. Some tools that we can use are checklist and reminder apps, self-modeling stories that students can make, and digital portfolios. So checklists and reminder apps are things that we can find on our phones and our tablets and even on our computers. Examples of these are Google Keep, and then there's different types of notes and reminder apps that are available for different smartphones and tablets. The nice thing about these apps are that they're customizable. Some of them have color coding, like Google Keep, which you see on screen here. You can share these apps with different people, so a student could share them with a teacher, with their parents, so that they can keep up with what they're supposed to do, and a teacher and a parent can keep track or add things to the list. And the nice thing is also that these apps allow you to have these checklists and reminders across multiple devices. So a student could have that on their Chromebook and on a mobile device like a phone or a tablet. Another strategy for developing self-directed learners is allowing students to make their own self-model stories. These can be photo stories, which are just photos and text, or they can be videos if the students want to make a self-model video. The key to these are having students articulate something about their own learning. It can be something small, like what makes them a successful learner. It should be fun and authentic. For example, a student could talk about how they go about their day to structure their day. And if you're using photo stories, they could take something like Google Slides or PowerPoint and create a series of slides, 8 to 10 slides with photos of how they're doing different things and text or audio of what they're doing. If you want to make a video, you can have students take short clips of them doing different things and put that together in a video, or import that video into a Google Slides or PowerPoint so that they have a short story of something that they do to be successful learners. Articulating how to be a successful learner or what makes them good learners can be a really powerful way to reinforce how to be a self-directed learner. Another strategy for self-directed learners is creating a digital portfolio with a student. A digital portfolio is something you might want to use as more of a long-term culminating project, but you can use web building sites like Google Sites or Weebly or Wix, and you can create a template for students where they embed certain things that they're doing over the course of time, like a semester or a year, and they highlight things that they've done. So students can collect their best work and showcase it on this website. They can link to their actual projects, and if they're old enough, they can write something about the projects. They can show and share their progress over the year with others, like their parents. And it allows students to kind of see their own progress and have a way to showcase what they're doing. If you do use digital portfolios, do be aware of things like privacy. You don't want the students' pictures out there on the larger web without permission from the parents, and you want to make sure that the school allows that as well. Fostering interaction and collaboration is an important area to consider online. Students are often working independently and alone in the online learning environment with no peers or teacher support right there. Some students are really motivated by having that support or having others around them, so the online environment can be kind of a lonely, independent way to work for some. Students may also not be able to figure out as they're working whether they're doing things correctly or not. So we'll talk about some strategies using digital tools that to support some of these areas in the online environment. So one of the things you can do is provide mastery-oriented feedback using collaborative documents, provide multimodal online discussions, and embed activities in synchronous meeting times that you might have. Let's start with mastery-oriented feedback. Mastery-oriented feedback is basically a way of giving formative feedback and focusing on the effort that students have made rather than giving corrective feedback. Provide specific feedback on what students are doing well and areas to work on, and give them opportunities to revise. So mastery-oriented feedback doesn't feel so much as though they're being graded or evaluated, as you're working with them to help them master whatever the goals are for the lesson. You can give mastery-oriented feedback using collaborative documents such as Google Docs and Google Slides, but you can also give it in other ways. You can use things like Word documents or even audio clips where you send information back to them. So mastery-oriented feedback doesn't just have to happen on collaborative documents, but they certainly make it easier to give that kind of formative feedback. Another way to foster interaction and collaboration is having multimodal online discussions where students can interact with their peers asynchronously. Here's an example on screen of using Padlet for a multimodal online discussion. You can have a prompt, or you can have some categories and have students post on particular topics. Students can use text and images and videos and even hyperlinks in their posts, and their peers can respond using the same multimodal forum. It's a nice way to collect all the responses in one place too, so that students can read each other's comments and ideas on a topic. There are also video-based ways to do multimodal online discussions, for example, using Flipgrid. Students can post a video to a prompt that you give, and they can leave replies to each other using video. You can set the time of these so you can make them really short, like 60 seconds, or even longer, up to 10 minutes, depending on the age group you work with and the prompts that you want them to respond to. Another way to foster interaction and collaboration is to embed activities when you have synchronous meetings. Synchronous meetings are the online meetings that you have in real time. So for example, Zoom meetings or Google Meet, when you bring your students together. You can embed opportunities to interact with peers by creating small groups online in your meetings and having meaningful activities for them to do. When you create the activities, make sure that you have prompts that the students can work on independently in their breakout groups, and make sure that you have clear directions for them to use. It helps when you talk about what they're supposed to do in the larger group meeting and then allow them to do a small bit of that activity together and then come back to the larger room to report. It's helpful to have structure for them to know what they're supposed to do with that activity when they're working independently. You can also, if you have too large of a class, you can also embed synchronous times where they meet in smaller groups with you to be able to interact around concepts. So those are some ideas for increasing engagement online. Think about how you might be able to use some of these with your students in the online learning environment.